Welcome. So today's episode is going to be about this battery backup. Now, I know what you're thinking. Battery backups are exciting. I mean, you only get to use them like once or twice a year. I am going to be doing some modifications to this that I think you're going to find not really all that exciting. And I'm also going to tell you, these aren't expensive. Now, this is actually a cheap battery backup. This one actually uses a cheap battery, and they're not very good. They burn up. They get real hot.
Okay, so the first thing I had to do was disassemble the unit. That wasn't hard. There are basically 64 screws. Once the back came off, I was able to sort of pry the back sides apart. So here's the back side. And one of the first things I wanted to do was remove this circuit board. It's basically just a surge protector for the telephone line, so I just threw it in the trash. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to do was cut a rectangular hole, so there we have it, a crude hole. I used a file to clean it up a bit. And here's the final hole. Okay, so the next challenge was to mount one of these slides, and I want to mount it more or less right there. I decided to sacrifice one of them by completely taking it apart. Now, this will make things a lot easier, as you'll see shortly. I was able to use this piece as a template for the screw holes. Once I was finished screwing the holes, I could mount the switch from behind. I started by drilling 2 rectangular holes, and then I used a knife to carefully screw the rest. Now I can mount the other switch that I didn't destroy from the back, kind of opposite of how it's intended to go. And you can see it works pretty well. I'll explain the purpose of this switch later. Okay, next order of business. I wanted to install a DC jack on the front, so I drilled a hole in the stick. Now, when drilling in stick, I have found that it's always best to start with a small bit and work up to the small one. If you start with the large bit, you'll almost always end up damaging glass. It's a little messy looking, but I can mess this up with a grinder. Okay, so I needed to tap into these DC wires which connect directly to the battery. Since they don't have any slack left, I decided to just slack some insulation around the wires to tap into them. Also, I should be using a red wire here, but I don't have any, so I just used this white wire. Once I was done soldering, I wrapped them with electrical tape, and then followed that up with some electrical tape. That will add some extra layer of insulation. So if I piggybacked all of the ports like this from a single wire, here's what would happen. If I pulled 16 amps from this one port, all is good. But if I also pull 16 amps from these other 2 ports, then this wire down here would be pulling 18 amps, and it would surely melt. So by doing it this way, it's much safer.
Okay, so a lot of you guys are probably wondering what the actual, well, there are actually quite a few. Alright, so if you take a look at the estimated runtime, it actually shows that it's only going to run for 6 minutes. Now, if you'll notice, there's actually none plugged into this unit at the moment. So it's literally going to only run 6 minutes, even when it's powering none. Okay, so with these modifications, I can bypass the inverter inside this thing, and I can run stuff on 12 volts a lot longer than I could using the inverter. Now, one of the things I'm going to be running on this on a regular basis is this hammer that I'm going to use. It's a mobile unit, but I'm going to be using it as a mobile unit in my house, and it's designed to run off 12 volts. So I'm going to be running it directly off of this, and I'm actually going to be running it directly off of this, even if the power is not. In other words, this is actually going to be my primary power source to run this, and the 12-volt charger inside the unit is actually going to keep the 12-volt charger powered up for me all the time in order to run this time when I want to run it. Now, in the event that the inside out, I can turn the unit off and power this unit directly from these 2 units I've added on here, and I could probably run this thing for 6 weeks straight, like constantly, versus 6 minutes. Actually, be less than that because I'd be drawing current, so probably like 5 minutes that I could run it if I were trying to use the actual AC output ports on this thing. Also, by my calculations, if I wanted to charge my gizmo off this little calculator here, I'd be lucky to get 1 or 12 or 13 full complete charges out of it. And the reason is because this screen actually does draw a power. And if the power were to go out, I wouldn't want this screen to be out. That's power that's wasted. All right, well, I thank you guys for watching. I hope you found it not really all that exciting. I wanted to make a few comments. You know, I probably get an email 6 a day still asking me where you can buy gas from me. And I just wanted to point out, in case some of my subscribers are not aware of this yet, I don't sell gas. I haven't sold them in like 3 years. So just